as the stress levels rise in Washington, we are seeing some political writers now suggesting that racism is raising its ugly head in the middle of this showdown, and it really has become what this is about. Ben Shapiro is co-founder and editor of truthrevolt.org and editor-at-large of Breitbart News. He's here now to explain. Ben, good to see you. So this is in a column from Politico's Roger Simon, who says the government shutdown has unleashed racism, and talks about how the racists among us think they can tell us what makes an American. And he goes through some examples of some racist comments that have been made. It seems attempting to portray those who feel differently than perhaps the Democrats in this contest as people who have a problem with those of color. Your thoughts?
And that's the way things have been rolled out by members of the left media. Roger Simon actually started that same column by suggesting that America would be better off if Speaker of the House John Boehner and Senator Ted Cruz both drowned. He actually said that would make America a better place. And yet the folks who are on the other side are presumably the extremists. He tried to lump in everybody on the right with some moron out there with a Confederate flag at the White House, completely ignoring what the Million Vet March was really about, which was the Obama administration's vindictive attempt to shut down a war memorial simply to hurt veterans.
He talks about the guy with the Confederate flag, which, of course, the Washington Post put up huge on its paper. He talks about Joe Wulzerbacher, better known as Joe the Plumber, who did come out with a bizarre article on his blog entitled "America Needs a White Republican President." And this is from Joe the Plumber. Admit it. You want a white Republican president again. Wanting a white Republican president doesn't make you racist. It just makes you American. Okay, Joe. But he holds this up like it's an example of how everyone other than Roger sees this government shutdown, sees this fight that we're seeing in Washington.
Well, that's what's so bizarre and absurd. I mean, when you talk about the leftist bullying, when you talk about the left castigating everyone that disagrees with them as people who hate blacks, hate Latinos, hate Jews, you know, this is what the left does in order to attack character as opposed to winning on the arguments. The fact is the vast majority of people who have said that Obamacare needs to be stopped have no racist tendencies whatsoever. They would not be pro somebody at the White House with a Confederate flag or say that we need a white conservative president. But this is what the media does. What the media likes to do is misdirect. I mean, it's all a magic trick. If they can misdirect away from the real narrative here, then they can pretend that this is really all just about racism and hatred, when really the only racists and haters out there, at least aside from some fringe characters on the right, are folks on the left who pay attention to this stuff.
Well, the thing is, I mean, you know, if you're going to be if you're going to be a basher and say this guy's racist comments speak for his entire party, then you got to do it both ways. Last night we were on the show talking about, you know, the incoming that Clarence Thomas has taken, you know, a conservative Supreme Court justice who's been called an Uncle Tom by Democrats, who one PBS commentator suggested she hoped he would die early, like most black males, she said. Marco Rubio's been called a coconut, and on it goes. And so, you know, do those people speak for the liberals any more than Joe the Plumber in this op-ed speaks for Republicans?
Of course not. And what you saw today was very interesting. There was an Organizing for Action, which is Obama for America rally outside the Capitol. And one of the people there was holding an incredibly offensive poster that talked about Tea Partiers as quote-unquote Tea-tards. And nobody lumped in the entire left with that idiotic sign, even though this was somebody who was a member of Organizing for Action. Everybody sort of understands that there are idiots on both sides of the aisle, and they're fringe characters.
And everywhere in America,
except for apparently folks
over 300 million people. They're everywhere.
Exactly.
That's a sad truth. But the thing is, if you try to suggest that those who are opposed to this government shutdown, or have problems with it, or are behind it, are racist, once again, Ben, that's still that word, that charge still lights a fire under those who are on the receiving end and on those who are reading and hearing the charge.
Absolutely. It's the worst thing that you can call somebody in America. But what we're watching right now is the Bugs Bunny media at work. I mean, they will misdirect and offer you flowers like your Elmer Fudd, and then there's a mallet in the other hand that they clock you in the face with.